Prime Minister, we'll come on to the political response in a second, but how did you feel as a parent when you watched the body-worn footage of the death of Henry Nowak?
Henry Nowak was a kind, thoughtful, and much-loved young man, and this has understandably been devastating for his parents, for his family, and everybody who knew him. And I have seen the body cam footage. It's harrowing. And I have to say, as a father of a 17-year-old boy, I felt sick watching it. It is absolutely right that the IOPC are looking at this. There are clearly serious questions that need to be addressed, not least how accusations of racism informed the decision-making in this case. But my thoughts, I'm sure the thoughts of everybody in the country, are with Henry's family. His life has been stolen, and they are understandably devastated, and that is where I start on this.
Henry said he'd been stabbed 4 times. The policeman said, "I don't think so, mate," handcuffed him, and he died. What's going on? Are police too afraid of being seen as racist to ignore a dying white student? What lessons can we learn from this?
The body cam footage is really harrowing. It is a really, really hard piece of footage to watch and to hear those exchanges and to think of that young man in those circumstances. As I say, I felt sick watching it. It was really difficult to watch, and anybody who's seen it will have gone through, I think, exactly the same emotion. It is really important to acknowledge, therefore, that are searching questions for the police that are going to have to be answered. The IOPC is obviously carrying out its investigation. It's right that they're given all that they need to get to the bottom of this. But I do think included in that will have to be this question of how accusations, allegations of racism informed or fed into the decision making in that particular case, because it is impossible to watch that footage and not appreciate that those questions absolutely have to be answered. It's impossible to watch that footage and not think, first and foremost, of Henry's family and friends and everybody who knew him.
In terms of political reaction, Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, has called it a Stephen Lawrence moment, suggesting we need an inquiry maybe, like the Macpherson inquiry into the Met Police, of course. Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, has said the response should be pure, cold rage. What's your response to these two different reactions?
Well, I think Nigel Farage's reaction is the wrong reaction. And I start my answer to your question through the eyes of the family. They have said they do not want this whipped up. They have been through the most extraordinary, awful experience. They don't want this whipped up. And Nigel Farage is completely wrong to use this to try and create division. He would be wrong in any circumstances. But when Henry's family are saying, please don't do that, it's our son, then really, as politicians, as human beings, we should start where they start, and that's where I start.
And a wider inquiry?
Well, I think it's important the IOPC do their work first, but I'm not saying there shouldn't be a wider inquiry. Of course, I'm not. But I think the first thing is to make sure we get the answers to the questions the IOPC are looking at.
And the final question on the Madison files released yesterday: if your government is so committed to transparency, why do you use disappearing messages functioning on your WhatsApps on your phone, and how long have you done it for?
Well, let me assure you, I've complied with the humble address. All the messages I hold have been passed over. I went through the same process as everybody else, and many people, not just in politics, use disappearing messages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With your permission, I will make a statement about the murder of Henry Nowak. Last December, Henry, aged just 18, was a first-year university student with his life ahead of him. He was kind, hard-working, loved by his family and friends. His murder at the hands of Vikram Digwa was a horrifying act. Digwa murdered Henry and then lied about him as he lay dying, falsely accusing him of racism. It was an evil act. I know the thoughts of the whole House will now be with Henry's family and his friends, just as mine are. What they have been through is heartbreaking, for most of us, unimaginable. I know nothing can take their pain and loss away. But yesterday, we saw some measure of justice. Digwa was sentenced to life imprisonment. He will serve a minimum term of 21 years. The police in this country have a sacred duty to police without fear or favour. Everyone in this country is equal before the law. It is the promise upon which our whole justice system rests, and the equality of every citizen is the foundation on which the openness, tolerance and generosity of this country rests. Let me also be clear about one other thing, a dangerous undercurrent that I have seen in the reaction to this awful crime. Threats against police officers are utterly unacceptable. There can be no justification for intimidation, abuse or attempts to take the law into one's own hands. A police officer unrelated to this case has been misidentified online and subjected to death threats. He has been forced to relocate to protect himself and his family. Misinformation and inflammatory commentary is making a dreadful situation even worse. We must all, together, condemn it. Let me be clear. Carrying a knife for the purpose of religious observance is one thing. Using it, as so tragically occurred in this case, is quite another. It is a vile act, a crime of the utmost severity, and it will be met with the severest punishment. We cannot allow this murder to turn communities against one another. We must condemn those who seek personal political profit from tragedy. Instead, we must show who we really are in this country. This was a murder, a vile and violent crime. The punishment must be reserved for those who are responsible for the act. We do not believe in collective punishment in this country. Instead, we stand together against an act of pure evil. We condemn those who committed this heinous crime, not all those who share their faith or their ethnicity. Yesterday, a sentence was handed down in court. I know it will never be enough. The loss felt by Henry Nowak's family and friends will last forever. A wonderful young man will never enjoy the promise of the life that stretched out before him. The evil acts of his murderer and accomplice will never be undone. But we can choose to use this moment to pursue positive change. We are still limited in what we can say. There is a sentence to be handed down and further charges may follow, and there is an IOPC investigation ongoing. But I call on everyone here to be responsible in this moment to allow justice to run its full course. But while we must be limited in what we can say, we must not be limited in how we act. I will end with the words of the Nowak family once more. Last night, they wrote that no other family should experience the heartbreak and horror of losing a child to knife crime. Let that be the challenge to us all, across this House, across government and across society. It is the very least we can do to honour the memory of Henry Nowak. Mr Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Chris Wilkes, Shadow Home Secretary.